Bonjour, my name is David DeVere. I'm a wine educator and traveler, and you're watching Savvy Nomad TV, the Eau de Vie edition. Now, Eau de Vie in French means water of life. In the northern part of France, in Alsace, they make a clear, hard alcohol that they infuse with some type of fruit flavor like raspberries or pears or you get the idea, apples. Eau de vie in Alsace can be pretty rough. It is after dinner drink and it is intense. Life can be intense. Traveling can be intense. I love traveling because I love that intensity, that closeness, and those sublime moments in travel when it's not intense. So I like to capture those. So in this very short series of videos, I want to talk about travel journals, journaling in general, fountain pens, and my new travel journal for 2023, because when I was trying to figure out what I wanted for the next year, I scoured the internet and I couldn't find someone putting these two pieces together and coming up with a good combination. So anyway, I want to start talking about all my old travel journals and what I've learned about journaling and traveling together, maybe give you some insights. Now let's move to our fountain pens and our new one. It's going to be a series of videos, so hang in there with me, and I hope you have a good time. Okay, let's get started. Now, before I move the camera and take you to the marble bar top here, where we look at all these journals, I just want to say, well, briefly, that a travel journal can be anything you want it to be. It can be a leather-bound notebook. It can be a binder that you keep your travel documents in, like a map and your itinerary. Those are all really smart things to have. It can be a tiny little journal that you carry in your pocket and pop out. A travel journal should have space in it where you can jot down maybe the train schedule, maybe a little spot you can keep some documents that you need, tram tickets, whatever it is. It should be something that you don't mind carrying around. It's on your person, and you can quickly take notes. A nice small little notebook, a little Moleskine. This is a green brain. You get the idea. This is just an old sketchbook. Travel journals can be whatever you want. And if you want to scrapbook in them, you need to think that all that pasting of all of your little mementos is going to make that thing thick. So keep that in mind. If you're going to have a travel journal that you add things to, you're going to expand it quite a bit. Do you have the capacity for that? And maybe it should be just a travel journal, not a journal that you keep for the rest of the year, because I do both of those things. Okay, let's move to the tabletop. Okay, I hope you find this interesting. These are all my different travel journals I've had over the years, kind of laid out in some sort of chronological order. I hope I can remember which way to go. Okay, anyway, I know this one's the start. So I've loved paper and I've loved pens for many years. Actually, I'd say I like paper and books more. But this thing is a old hard-covered ledger book. I don't even know who made this. I suppose Wilson Jones. This is a record book. I just thought, God, it was cool. And so anyway, I bought this last century, back in the mid-90s. I had this goatskin leather, and I wanted this thing to be leather covered, so I just duct taped some leather to it, and it's stayed on here all these years. I made a tassel for it, and here it is as a marker ribbon. And I have used this over the years as a journal. Now, before I get into travel journaling, I just want to point out a lot of people have these misconceptions about journaling. And I did too, honestly. I thought you were supposed to write all your hopes and dreams and designs and everything else you wanted in life, in all of this stuff. You should write it down. It should be meaningful and memorable. Well, sometimes the most hopes and dreams things aren't really that memorable. They're not really that meaningful. The things that are meaningful or memorable are capturing a moment in time in paper and pen and just writing the mundane things. And then those things, you can imagine them over the years. You can remember, oh yeah, this one little detail, and it'll pop something in your mind. And so in this journal, I didn't understand that yet. And so I started doing illustrations. I would write the day. Here's January 21st at 10:48 p.m. and I write about this. This is probably February 26, 1996. I used to work in the Antarctic program. I was stationed at McMurdo Station, and this is the view of the glacier in the background from Hut Point. So I started putting illustrations in here, and I started drawing things when I was traveling, and I would write the weather. And so this goes on, but it kind of falls apart, and I don't update it very much. And I have a hard time filling out all of the pages. So this journal's a little bit empty. Honestly, it's got empty pages here. So I started using it as a scrapbook to keep wine bottles labels that I liked, and that's worked out, and I continued to use it for that. Okay, so this is one of my oldest ones. I also had this notebook, which just had this plastic thing in here, and I used to put maps and stuff in there. I also had this in Antarctica. Now, when I was in Antarctica, they gave us these things. At the time, it was a Navy base, and so there's the Federal Supply number. And they called these green brains. And these were journals or just things to write stuff down. Here's my shopping list for ideas to get people Christmas presents. Here's how much I paid for, dinner and lunch and where I was. And I started just logging regular old stuff in here. I still thought that journaling had to be all your emotions and thoughts. I didn't quite realize it could be simple. So then a year goes by. My brother gives me this tiny little notebook. It carried great in my pocket. It's just a sketchbook. And I just started writing down mundane things in here. Here are email addresses of friends. Here are how much I bought on various sweaters. Here's my brother's address. Rental cars, just notes. And I started keeping a daily log of stuff that was happening. So that started changing my mind. I started thinking, oh, maybe a journal could be just regular things. So here's another example. This was a journal that I kept not necessarily daily, but it was kind of my password book. Don't worry, these are all old. You'll never get to use them. And so I kept mileage in here. It just became a journal. So that was interesting. But this was kind of a good form factor, kind of a nice size, but it wouldn't fit in the pocket like this little green one would. Oh God, I love this little green one. Anyway, fast forward to this century, and we started guiding trips in France. So we started buying our guests that would go with us on the boats, we'd buy them little journals. And so this was mine. I didn't really fill it out very good. It was too busy. But this is Sarah's, and this is such a lovely little travel journal. You can open it up, and you see she starts to scrapbook in here. Canal du Midi in Paris, 2014. And it's got all this memorabilia in here. It's got tickets, and it's got little notes, and she pasted them in. It's got little pop-outs. I just love this, and it really brings back this trip in a certain clarity that is just not doable from your mind. Now, in the current times, you can get good clarity out of, if the photo memories that the iPhone does. Those are pretty good. Now, here's my first Hobonichi. I thought, oh, what is this day planner stuff? How is that working? And so I tried one, bought this early. It was all in Japanese. I thought, God, that's weird. But I bought it. I just wanted to try it out. I had all this space in the front before my trip started. Here is where my trip started. And here's the space I had in front. So I used it as a notebook. And I noted and logged all the kings and queens of France in here. And actually, I found that quite fun. And so I was like, this is great. Now I'm carrying this information with me to France. And then I start to journal and use this kind of as a pasteboard for my trip. And I liked Sarah's idea of making pop-outs. So here's my carte de plaisance, my French driving license stapled in there, pasted in there. And it goes on. But then at the end of my trip, it kind of falls apart. And that's it. Now, this is much too big of a page. My life not traveling was rather boring. So I couldn't really do anything. Here, what did I do to this day? Woke up at 5:30 because I'm still jet lagged. Went for a walk. Had a lot of back pain, probably because I sat on an airplane for 12 hours. Unwind from travel. And I watched a ton of TV, Walking Dead, and football. Okay, this whole section of the page is just dead space for me. So I'm not doing a very good job. Now I have continued to use this journal to make some notes in just as a regular notebook. Still like this. I like it because of the kings and queens of France in here, actually. Okay, it's getting a little bit long, but I want to finish up. Eventually, I move to Hobonichis. So here are 5 years of Hobonichis. The current one is in here. All right. Whew. The next video is going to be my Hobonichi habit and how I use a Hobonichi for journaling. Join me for that. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please leave me a like and consider subscribing. I talk about wine and travel and crazy things like journaling. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.